everyone, and welcome to today's 30-minute briefing, the Evolving Teams Rooms Admin Experience. I'm Bethany Bolin, UC's Senior Adoption Consultant, and I am thrilled to have you here for the final session of our Unlock the Room webinar series. Over the past sessions, we've been exploring how organizations can optimize their meeting room experiences, and today we're focusing on a pressing challenge many IT and AV teams face, which is managing a growing fleet of Teams Rooms devices efficiently. Microsoft is fundamentally shifting how Teams Rooms are managed. Capabilities once spread across traditional Teams Admin Center are moving into a dedicated Teams Rooms Pro Management portal. And if you're an admin, you might be thinking, great, another portal to learn, just what I need. But I promise these changes are highly beneficial for your experience. And in this session, we're going to unpack what's changing, why Microsoft is doing this, and how these changes make life easier for IT teams managing rooms at scale. I'm going to quickly introduce our panelists, joined by Jacob Fisher, who leads our modern work and AI strategy practice and helps organizations align collaboration platforms with business outcomes. And Ryan Herbst, our Vice President and Chief Device Strategist, focusing on modern work technologies and the team's devices and rooms that power them at scale. Thank you both for being here. We've planned a conversational session today, so it's light on slides but heavy on insights, as we've done the last three sessions. So please drop your questions in Q&A and we'll get to them as we can. So here's what we'll cover in this session. First thing is how Teams Rooms Management is moving from the Teams Admin Center into the Teams Rooms Pro Management portal, what the new Pro Management portal adds beyond basic device management. We're going to talk about new and expanded management capabilities for Android-based Teams Rooms, passwordless resource accounts, kind of what's changing and why Microsoft is pushing this model, and then key operational and security considerations when migrating your management workflows. And then really quickly, just want to mention, this is, again, the final webinar of our Unlock the Room series. So if you missed our first three sessions or you want to revisit them, those recordings are all available and you'll actually find them conveniently in chat. So today's session is also being recorded, so we will send out the on-demand link so you can share it with colleagues or catch anything that you might have missed. And additionally, quick shout out, our Copilot users group. This group meets on a monthly basis about Copilot, where AI is now and where it's headed. And we've also included that link in Q&A as well. All right, so now we're going to jump into our discussion. So starting with Teams Admin Center versus Teams Rooms Pro, we'll start with Jacob. So Jacob, we're going to start with kind of a big picture. Many organizations have managed Teams Rooms and devices in the standard Teams Admin Center for years. Microsoft moved those management capabilities into a dedicated Teams Rooms Pro Management portal. Could you help us understand what changed here and why Microsoft made this shift to a separate portal for managing Teams Rooms?
Yeah, that's a good place to start because honestly, it's been a bit of a headache for admins for a while now. The way device management worked up to this point was you had it split across two places. You had your Teams Admin Center, where a lot of us lived for years. That's where you went for managing some of your configs and your updates and that sort of thing. But then you have the Pro Management portal, which some of us have been using, some not. It kind of lived off to the side for some folks, depending on if you'd configured things and if you knew to go there. And really, so what you found yourself with, regardless of which one you found yourself using most, was you were still bouncing back and forth because you had different tools, for different things, different sets of devices, what you're using. So really, Microsoft is doing is bringing that all together, all into the Pro Management portal. So really, one place for everything. So those update management, the reporting, analytics, all that kind of stuff, all comes into one place. Your one pane of glass, and it's not just rooms. I know this session is about rooms, obviously, but really what we're talking about here is it's everything. It's your Teams Rooms on Android, it's your Teams phones, it's your panels, even your SIP devices. That's all coming together into one place. So it's not all overnight either. We're kind of looking at this kind of phase. We'll talk a little bit more about really the timeline a little bit later. But first, we already had, for folks that had Windows-based Teams Rooms, back in June of last year, it made the full transition to you manage those all into Pro Portal. This is bringing that all together. The big one is bringing everything Android all into the fold, all under one place. So you have it all in one tool where you can you can track it. Things fall through the cracks a lot less. You have that one purpose-built portal, and I'll show a little demo of what this all looks like a little later on.
Very exciting. Nice to kind of move it down to one portal. Moving over to Ryan. Ryan, from your perspective as our device strategy lead, what do these changes mean for IT and AV teams managing rooms at scale day to day? For those that haven't yet, how will moving to the new portal improve their workflow or affect their daily operations?
Yeah, these are really good questions, Bethany. And I think to start, we're talking about really streamlined workflows. So admins don't have to flip between different portals. As Jake said, they have this kind of one-stop portal for room management tasks, and they can do things like update software and inventory, and monitoring and troubleshooting. Certainly, room health becomes kind of front and center in the Pro Management portal, and there's just deeper health status and alerts. This concept of incidents emerges that wasn't in Teams Admin Center, specific to meeting rooms, and this really provides IT with the tools to catch and fix issues before they impact users or impact meetings, hopefully. They also get really improved management at scale. So it becomes a lot easier to manage hundreds or thousands of rooms when you have features like bulk actions and centralized settings and again, a kind of consistent place where you can manage both Windows and Android Teams rooms. You certainly get faster troubleshooting. So there's built-in diagnostics and remote management actions right inside the portal. So restarting devices or collecting logs or updating firmware remotely, adjusting settings. These types of things definitely translate into faster time to resolution. We'll talk in a bit about some of the kind of AI features, but yeah, overall, it's a much more efficient, proactive way to manage at scale. Making sure that rooms are ready and available for users when they walk in to use them.
Awesome. Yeah, it certainly is. Now, moving beyond basic device management, I want to talk about new capabilities in the Pro Portal, and I'm going to give this one to you again, Ryan. So the new portal doesn't just replicate what we already had. It also introduces new capabilities beyond basic device management. Ryan, can you highlight some of the additional features or insights that Teams Rooms Pro Management Portal brings that go beyond the basics of the old Admin Center?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And I know this is new for those likely who were very focused on Teams Room on Android. They may not have had access or maybe didn't have the right licensing to have access to the Pro Management portal, but it's been here. There are new features. And again, I think this experience is probably going to be very new for those that were exclusively in the Android world with Teams Rooms. But yeah, a lot of new goodness in Pro Management portal, including real-time room analytics and deeper health signals. It can surface alerts about device peripherals, so cameras and mic issues and display health and key signals and performance metrics. And again, a lot of that has been there for Windows users, not for Android, but it just keeps getting better. The incident management kind of section can automatically identify and flag issues, again, like based on a severity level. So, critical or a warning or something that's recommended, can suggest actual actions on how to fix something. And so this is a huge upgrade from kind of the simple, it was, up or down status that we had in Teams Admin Center. There's also, again, remote enhanced capabilities. You could restart devices, you can sign in and sign out of devices, you can collect logs and perform other provisioning tasks that were really limited or in many cases not available at all in Teams Admin Center. And if your Teams Room on Windows, there's a full remote control capability you can take advantage of. And in terms of integrations and AI, some big stuff here. You can extend and things like webhooks can be used to extend information and take it out of the Pro Management portal. There's integration with ServiceNow. And there's an AI agent in preview that can help with questions and data, and it can do some really cool things and give you access to some insights. And some of the things you could do, you could find rooms, for example, that were running on a specific version of the Teams Room application, or ask it to give you a list of rooms with recent errors or that are offline. You could show a specific kind of inventory and health report. Or you could ask it questions around how to troubleshoot something related to Teams Rooms.
It's an exciting list. Thanks, Ryan. Jacob, stepping back a bit, what value do these advanced capabilities have from a strategic standpoint? In other words, how do features like richer analytics and proactive monitoring translate into tangible benefits for IT teams and the business?
Yeah. So think about what Ryan described. The portal's given admins a whole much better view of their room's health now across the types of rooms that they have. But another big shift that they're coming up with is what they're doing next, as far as when it comes to um, rooms reporting, that are actually being checked, diagnosed, and in some case even corrected without waiting for someone to walk in and find out the hard way. So a camera drops offline, Microsoft stops reporting correctly, displays and waking up. The room is showing technically that it's on the calendar, but the room isn't ready when someone walks in. So the direction Microsoft is going with this is with AI assisted management of these, actually proactively looking for those signals during the nightly maintenance cycle that goes through already, and actually testing those core components, during that time. And then, if we can resolve it, that's great, or it'll raise it and give you, richer context about what it is. So operationally, if you're looking at it, it's, IT spending less time in the first part of the day reacting to a bunch of tickets, trying to troubleshoot what those tickets mean. Instead, the system has quietly gone through and validated what some of these issues are, tried to apply fixes. Maybe it's already fixed some of these already, but if it can't, they have a more clear indication of what's going on in the room. So the idea there is fewer surprise failures, fewer waste meetings, and support team that can really focus on the exceptions to problems in the rooms instead of chasing a bunch of tickets every morning.
So true. Thanks, Jacob. Now, this is one we hear a lot about Android Teams rooms and what how this affects their new management capabilities. Ryan, I'm going to hand this one to you. So a notable part of this evolution is the focus on Android-based Teams rooms. Managing Teams rooms on Android used to be more limited compared to managing Windows-based rooms. Ryan, what new and expanded management capabilities for Teams rooms on Android are now arriving with this transition?
Yeah, and I touched on this a bit in the last question, but yeah, this is really a big move for Teams Room on Android. The majority of the enhanced tool set, again, has been available for Windows, but this really closes the gap. So admins can manage all rooms from a single management portal. And then there's just some really advanced kind of automation and AI-assisted management capabilities that TAC never offered. So right now we talked a little about that, but you're going to see even more kind of AI-assisted remediation kind of coming in the future. Some of that is already here. It can suggest and make certain changes, but there's going to be a whole nother level of that kind of emerging in the future. Another big area is ticketing, because in PMP and Pro Management Portal, we call it PMP, you get real ticketing and incident history, and TAC really didn't show you this. Again, you kind of just could see if a device was online or offline. But this is kind of a proper incident system where every signal gets one ticket that persists over time with an overview and notes and attachments and history, and includes a description with the cause, and it suggests potential resolution. And so, this is a huge step forward. It also gives kind of Android users tenant-wide health trends, like tickets by category, or health graphs comparing kind of your rooms to industry benchmarks at other kind of Microsoft tenants, and room reliability rankings, and a whole bunch of insights and reporting that weren't in Teams Admin Center. And another huge one is true software update rings, which existed in Pro Management Portal for Windows users, but really much more limited in terms of how the software update framework was approached in TAC. And so this will give the ability to have very granular deployment rings, which is just a really, really important part of making sure that there's a process that tests early firmware, and that it goes through a logical series of rings and hits our executive rooms last.
That's awesome. Logical, organized, consolidated. Jacob, what do these improvements mean for organizations with mixed Windows and Android room environments? How significant is it to have a unified management approach across different device platforms?
Yeah, I think it's really significant. I think most organizations aren't typically all Windows or all Android. Folks are falling somewhere in a mix, one way or the other. So really, this idea here is really just about consistency. It's one tool, one way of managing everything. Your update rings and everything, like Ryan was talking about, is all falling into the same thing, regardless of which device you have. You don't have to have two different tracks and two different playbooks and stuff on how to manage these devices. It's all in one place, and you're not doing that context switching going back and forth between two different processes, two different places. About I need to go over here for my Android rooms to make this change. I need to hop back over to the Pro Management portal to do this. Really, cuts down on kind of training your technicians and stuff that are helping manage these rooms, and cuts down on those mistakes too, about somebody not knowing the difference of knowing which type of room this is and how they're supposed to manage it. So it also means for folks that are really strictly Windows-based MTR environments, this is another opportunity to really look at kind of scaling out your Android footprint, a little bit more confidence about how these are managed and how to use these. It more closely matches how your Windows-based rooms are run. So I know I promised a little bit earlier, and we've been talking about it a lot, but maybe I can actually show you a little bit of what this looks like. So bear with me a second, and I'll share with you a little bit, kind of maybe the messaging you're seeing in the Teams Admin Center, but also what is coming into the Pro Management portal. So yeah, kind of starting with Teams Admin Center. I just wanted to promise this just to show people where we are and as everything's moving. If you had Teams rooms on Windows, you would have seen this already, giving you that prompt to get moved over to the Pro Management portal and advertising some of the cool new stuff we'll show here that's been added regularly. But anytime you're going into any of your Android-based devices here, you're probably seeing this now. I'll give you that warning saying starting August 1st, all your Android stuff is moving over. Get over to the Pro Management portal, get familiar with it, start getting your roles and that sort of thing set up and any kind of thing. Links there to the public documentation. And I'll just point out, we were talking about room systems, but when you go in here to your panels and your phones and your displays, notice we all have that same banner at the top saying, if you have any of these devices, start getting prepared. We're kicking off this migration really soon. So going into the Pro Management portal, I think one of the big ones that people are focused on, because this has been handled two different ways, is when we go into our updates here. We will see now we have our Windows updates and we now have our Android updates both in one place. We'll make this transition over. Before we had the Android phases where it was we had staging and production stuff, and the three phases. Those will move over to match up with our rings that we have in the Pro Management portal. So actually, we've got kind of the basic rings, staging, general, and executive rings that you can use to manage these and get those set up. In addition to that, if I show some rooms in here, so I have a mix of rooms here. I'll filter down by my Seattle office here, the ones I have in here. Notice my combination of Windows-based rooms and Android-based rooms that they have in this space. You'll notice now when if you're familiar with what Android-based rooms used to look like in Pro Management portal, we now have a rich set of our settings all showing in here, as well as options in here like our updates showing which update rings these are part of, and some of the actions and stuff that you can go through. Some of the stuff that you were doing previously in Teams Admin Center, you're able to see here. And then just a little preview showing here as well. I do have one phone here set up in my Seattle office. We're seeing our phones already showing up in here, looking very similar to what we were seeing for rooms as well. So bringing that all kind of together in a very familiar interface for everything else we have. And then, we talked about a little bit about recommendations and actions. This is really nice having this all brought together for all of our room system devices. So now we can see some recommended actions. I'm actually going to change this. We'll see a little a little more across here, but here's some really nice actual insight showing you here about if you've got some rooms that are coming up on end of life is coming up for those, and you're kind of planning your migration stuff. It will identify those for you and show you there if they're benefiting some sort of upgrade that can be improved across here. Maybe some kind of data hygiene stuff too around settings. I'll say our environment, we have lots of test devices stuff, so we got plenty of unhealthy devices, which helps really well for us to show here about some of our lab stuff and stuff that shows up in our recommended actions. And then shared space insights as well. If you haven't looked at this one, it's been available for a little while, but here is where you can get some additional information around just across all of your shared spaces around the number of teams rooms and the capacity you have when they're the busiest, what utilization looks like, give you a little bit of heat map of peak utilization stuff throughout the week, time of day, that sort of thing. So really bringing in some additional analytics that you can look at as you go through here. With that, I'll pass it back to Bethany.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that thorough demo, Jacob. Hopefully that helped y'all kind of see the benefit right here. All right, so moving on to passwordless resource accounts. We've heard Microsoft is moving Teams Rooms resource accounts to a passwordless model using Entra ID, which is formerly Azure AD. Brian, can you break down what's going on with Teams Rooms accounts and why Microsoft is pushing this passwordless resource account approach?
Yeah, this is really one of the more meaningful shifts we've seen in Teams Rooms in a while, and that's a big statement because there's been a lot happening. So yeah, let me kind of walk you through how it works today and what changes with passwordless and where the real benefit kind of lands. So today, every Teams Room signs in with what we call a resource account. It's an Entra ID identity that represents the room itself. It owns the mailbox. It's what the user invites when they book the space. It's what authenticates the device into Teams and Exchange. The challenge is how it authenticates because the device is unattended. That account uses a username and a password that's handed off by the device. And room accounts have always needed kind of special handling because standard user policies didn't fit kind of unattended devices. This thing reboots automatically in the middle of the night, has to log itself in. So it didn't support a lot of the kind of traditional policies. So you needed to set the password either to never expire, which most people did, or deal with a pretty complex process to manage password expiration on these devices. You also had to exclude things like MFA. So here's where kind of passwordless changes that entire process. So you essentially connect the Teams room directly to Entra ID, and you Entra ID join it. And from that point, the device itself becomes the proof of who it is. You can kind of think of it like the difference between a hotel key card and a written password on a piece of paper. Yeah, the room doesn't have to remember a password anymore because the device is essentially its own credentials, and there's no shared password floating around that someone has to type in or store or change every few months. And there's more technically behind this. You can kind of think of things like Windows Hello and other passwordless technologies that many of us use. And yeah, so I'm not going super deep into the underlying technology, but that's kind of how it'll function. Microsoft is targeting general availability in August, and they're also going to be including a migration tool inside the Pro Management portal with a dashboard that shows your progress. So you're not walking into every conference room, one by one and making any type of change. You can do this in bulk and remotely, and essentially move your whole fleet over to passwordless in a orchestrated way, and you can see where you are, in the process through that dashboard. So huge step forward from an administrative and security perspective.
Definitely a huge step forward. Thanks, Ryan. Jacob, looking at the bigger picture again, how do passwordless resource accounts benefit organizations strategically? Do you have any considerations for rolling out this model to existing rooms and IT processes?
Yeah, I mean, the reason I like this change the most is it really makes the security conversation a lot easier. For years, the Teams rooms resource accounts lived in this kind of awkward middle ground, right? They're not people, but they still have a password. They have to sign in reliably, but we can't use things like MFA. And so in a lot of environments, that meant going to the security team and having to ask for exceptions. We need a non-expiring password, and then we need to set up this conditional access treatment, and we need a process for storing or even sometimes rotating passwords if people did that. So it got kind of complex, and that was not always a fun conversation to have with the security and identity team. So this really kind of changes the tone of that discussion. Instead of walking in and say, hey, I need a password and an account with a password that doesn't expire, you can say, hey, we're removing that SAG password in our rooms, and we're going to align that with Enter ID based device identity instead. It's much nicer conversation, the ones that security teams like to hear. So kind of operationally, it removes some failure points too as well. Room passwords can expire. People make mistakes there or change them, or they get mistyped, or they get lost in the handoff as you're passing around between the identity team and room installers and support desk. And then you've got rooms that are signed out, and you're trying to troubleshoot, awkwardly when someone's trying to conduct a meeting. So this really it doesn't solve every identity problem, but it does a lot to remove a lot of that messiness and make things more secure. So for rollout, the room needs to be Enter ID joined for the that functionality. For new rooms, that's a great time to start looking into Windows Autopilot and Auto Login if it's something you haven't explored already. That's really going to give the cleanest deployment if you're looking at new rooms. Device provisioning, join Enter ID, and then when it installs it when it's ready, and then it signs everything in for you, and it just makes that process much simpler, much easier to do. And then as far as like your existing rooms, like kind of that transition process, treat it as a phase migration. It's not something you want to do all at once. Obviously, it will be a larger process. So take inventory of your Windows rooms, confirm which ones are already Enter ID joined, ready to go. Second, identify, get identity involved early so they can look at those resource accounts and get things ready. And you'll look at your conditional access and device compliance considerations before you jump into making that migration. And then, third, you'll want to do a bit of a pilot too, right? You'll pick a small set of rooms that are somewhere easily accessible that you can go with, and then expand from there. And then, like Ryan said, once you get going, there will be a migration wizard kind of showing your progress dashboard, and make that easier to kind of move through in waves.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that information, Jacob. I do have another one for you, and it's kind of along the same topic. Might even be kind of a repeat of what we just talked about. But, like y'all talked about, moving to a new portal and management model is not just a technical change. It has operational and security implications. So from an organizational perspective, what are the key operational or security considerations for IT teams as they transition these management workflows? Do you have any advice on making this migration as smooth and secure as possible, in addition to what you've just covered?
Yeah, I'd say first thing, resist the temptation to treat it like just like purely technical cutover. Really think of this as an operational change because you are changing the tools that you have and you're gaining some additional functionality. And you want to kind of start sooner than later because there are some things you want to put in place to make sure. So first, talk about the timeline. It's a little tighter than what you think if you get started too late. So really, transition is starting here at the end of June, where Android management is going to start showing up in the Pro Portal, and you'll see some of those admin center workflows start getting redirected over there. That's a good place to get started here really soon. Then through July, you're going to see that full set of the management workflows going live in the portal, and we're going to have everything you need all over in one place. And then you'll look at, like the warning I was showing earlier said, in August, more and more of those admin actions are going to be redirected there. And then, by the time you hit September, the management has all left admin portal, has retired. We are fully pro management portal. So you're really looking at a few month runway here to kind of get everything done. So that's why I'm saying kind of start piloting now, get your teams familiar, make sure you've got that pro portal configured and ready, like go through and look at your roles and make sure the right folks have access. Also look at kind of the networking requirements for your rooms to report there. If you haven't actually used Pro Management Portal before and in much of your usage, making sure that that's all in place as well so that the rooms are reporting in. It's important.
Very helpful. I know we're almost at time, but Ryan, anything you'd add from a security or technical standpoint, perhaps considerations around the new features like passwordless accounts or managing Android devices?
Yeah, I think we've covered most of it. You certainly would want to review documentation around passwordless. Make sure your resource accounts are ready for that change. That'll involve some coordinations with the teams that manage identity. Also going to be really important to make sure the rooms are updated to the latest software so they can support all of these new management capabilities and features. And yeah, spend some day, if you're new to the Pro Management Portal, spend some time thinking about kind of roles and access. There's a full role-based access control model attached to it. And we want to make sure that we don't give people more access than they need and follow kind of the principle of least privilege.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you both for your great insights and discussion today. And thanks to all of you who joined us for this session and for those who have been with us through this whole series. Really hope these webinars have helped you on your journey to optimize your Teams rooms. As this series wraps up, remember all of our previous sessions are available on demand. You can check Q&A for those links. Today's webinar recording will be shared soon as well. Lastly, a reminder, our team is here to help you take the next step. So if you're thinking about how best to leverage these new Teams Rooms admin capabilities, especially with all the amazing new AI features rolling out, I'd love to continue the conversation. So please click the link in the chat to book time with us for a personalized Unlock the Room briefing. We can help deployments and maximize the benefits of Microsoft Teams Rooms in your organization. And again, why not join the Copilot users group? This group meets on a monthly basis. Again, talk about Copilot, where AI is now and where it's headed. And again, that link is in the Q&A. And finally, thank you again for spending time with us today. We, again, truly appreciate your engagement and, questions. Enjoy the rest of your day. We look forward to working with you on unlocking the full potential of your Teams rooms. And with that, we will call this whole webinar series a wrap. Thanks, everyone.